Fluent Flow Podcast. New videos every day. Let's learn English together.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take your sources, really dig into them, and pull out those golden nuggets of knowledge, basically giving you that shortcut to being well-informed.
Yeah.
So today, we're diving into something I found, well, really quite fascinating. It's not just any audio. It's actually the script, the written script of a podcast episode. It's called Why I Enjoy Spending Time Alone.
Ah, right. From that show, Fluent Flow Podcast.
That's the one. And what makes it so interesting, I think, is its dual nature.
Indeed. Yeah, this source is pretty remarkable. It hits on a topic that, resonates deeply with a lot of people, the benefits of solitude.
Right.
But at the same time, it's clearly built as a pedagogical tool, like a learning aid.
Exactly.
It's deliberately designed for a very specific group, English language beginners. And what's really striking is how the message itself, about self-care, introspection, is woven right into the way it's presented for language learning. It's like the what and the how are just perfectly intertwined, a really holistic experience.
That's a great way to put it. So, okay, our mission today is kind of twofold. First, we'll dig into the insights the piece offers on solitude, the power of it, how to practice it, the benefits for, well-being, growth. And second, we're going to analyze how it does this, how the content is presented in this really thoughtful, accessible way that makes it so effective. Not just for language learners, actually, but maybe for getting complex ideas across clearly to anyone.
Yeah, that's the really interesting part, I think, the design of it.
Totally. So let's jump in.
Unpacking the core concept, alone versus lonely.
Okay, so right at the start, this Fluent Flow podcast, script tackles something fundamental.
Yeah.
A distinction that honestly trips up a lot of people, not just learners.
The alone versus lonely thing.
Exactly. It starts with this super clear, direct definition. It says being alone means you are by yourself. It means no one else is with you. Just simple. Sets the baseline.
And that clarity is, well, it's absolutely crucial, isn't it, for everything that follows. But what's really insightful is what comes immediately after, that emphatic point. But being alone is not the same as feeling lonely. That distinction right there, being alone versus feeling lonely, it's like a foundational psychological reframing. It just flips the script immediately.
How so?
Well, it takes something many people instinctively see as negative,
Yeah.
Isolation, maybe sadness, a lacking connection.
Yeah, a deficit.
Right, a deficit.
Yeah.
And it reframes it as a positive, intentional choice, embracing solitude. And that really makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How challenging that common misconception, that conflation of the two. How does that actually free people up?
Free them up too.
To actually embrace time by themselves without feeling, societal pressure or even that internal guilt, that voice saying you shouldn't be alone.
That's such a key point. It really is an aha moment, and putting it right at the beginning, that's just masterful positioning in the source. You're right. So many people, maybe because we're so hyper-connected now, they genuinely think if they're by themselves, they must be lonely or something's wrong.
Yeah, the FOMO thing, fear of missing out. Or just the pressure to be on all the time.
Exactly. And that pressure, ironically, it stops us from getting the benefits of alone time. It makes solitude seem like, a failure or something.
Right. Social inadequacy.
Yeah. So this Fluent Flow podcast, by drawing this clear line, this mental boundary, it's like giving permission. It offers a counter narrative.
It liberates the listener.
Yeah.
Takes off that unspoken burden, opens the door to a more intentional relationship with yourself. It's not just intellectual, it's kind of an emotional release too.
Totally. An emotional liberation.
Precisely. And the source doesn't just define it, does it? It illustrates the experience, the positive side of solitude.
You mean when the speaker says?
Yeah, when she describes her internal state. When I spend time alone, I listen to my thoughts. I breathe slowly. I feel calm, and I learn more about myself. It just paints this vivid, really inviting picture.
It does. It's not passive withdrawal.
No, it's active. It's engaging with your inner world. And the language used there, it's so simple, so direct. Even a beginner gets it instantly.
No room for confusion.
None. Which is brilliant communication design, really. It doesn't just tell you what solitude is. It shows you what it feels like, what it does for you inside.
Yeah.
And that gentle, positive framing, that's key to encouraging people to try it. It bypasses all those negative vibes being alone can have, turns potential anxiety into an invitation for peace, self-discovery even.
It's empowering, isn't it? Letting you reclaim your own space, your time, without the guilt. That positive frame really is the cornerstone of the whole message.
Definitely.
Flips the whole paradigm. Solitude isn't something that just happens to you when things go wrong. It's a choice, a valuable one. You can almost feel the calm in the words themselves. Beautiful, peaceful, quiet. Those words aren't accidental, are they?
Not at all. They're chosen to evoke a feeling, a state you might want, not just facts. It's like an emotional welcome mat.
A welcome mat to self-replenishment.
Yeah. And that makes the whole idea of solitude just approachable, especially if you feel swamped by, social stuff or just the pressure to be busy constantly.
Yeah.
It's a gentle nudge towards looking inward, not a strict command. It acknowledges those barriers people have and just gently helps take them down.
That's a great point. So, okay, once that foundation is laid, alone is good, not lonely. The next obvious question is, all right, what do I actually do?
Right. How do I make it happen?
And that's exactly where the source goes next. It offers these incredibly practical, gentle ways to actually cultivate that peace.
The practical landscape of peaceful solitude.
So yeah, once the script establishes that being alone is, a positive, intentional thing, it doesn't just leave you hanging.
It gives you the how.
Exactly. It offers 5 really accessible, gentle activities, starting with this lovely image. I sit in a quiet place. I drink tea. I listen to soft music. I feel my breath. I feel peace. It paints such an inviting, achievable scene.
And what's really striking there is the sheer simplicity, the accessibility. None of these things require expensive gear or special plans or going anywhere specific. You don't need a retreat or a class or even an app, right?
Nope. Just you, maybe some tea.
Which makes them incredibly easy for pretty much anyone to weave into daily life, regardless of, time, money, circumstances. And that immediate accessibility, that low barrier, it makes me wonder from a, say, behavioral science angle, how crucial is that for actually encouraging people to stick with it?
That's a great question.
It seems like the secret ingredient, doesn't it? Preventing that overwhelm that makes people give up on things that seem too complicated.
Yeah, like New Year's resolutions.
Exactly. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, it really suggests that often profound benefits don't come from grand gestures. They come from simple, repeatable actions you can actually do consistently.
That is such a fantastic point about the secret sauce. Because, so much self-help advice feels like this huge mountain to climb before you even start.
Right. Intimidating.
But this source feels like it's actively trying to remove obstacles. It's almost anti-perfectionist. Just do something small. And it keeps going with these manageable ideas. Second suggestion. I read a book, not a long book, just a few pages. Again, manageable, achievable, just a few pages.
Emphasis on the few. Yeah.
Then the third one, I write in my notebook. I write about my day, how I feel, what I'm thinking. Writing helps me feel better. So that brings in reflection, processing emotions.
Catharsis, maybe. Introspection. Vital stuff.
Definitely. Then number 4, I take a walk. I go outside. I walk slowly. I look at the sky, the trees, the birds, and I feel happy. That brings in nature, mindfulness, just noticing things.
Connecting externally, but calmly, appreciatively. Yeah.
And then the 5th one. This is just brilliant.
The podcast one.
Yes. I listen to a podcast just like this one. I learn new words. I practice English. I feel proud of my progress.
It's the ultimate meta moment, isn't it?
Totally. It's so clever. It reinforces the very thing the listener's doing right then.
Immediate validation.
Connects the advice straight to their learning journey. Like, see, you're already doing it. Boosts confidence, reinforces the lesson. It's genius.
It really is. And across all 5, notice the focus on sensory detail.
Oh, yeah. Drink tea. Feel my breath. Look at the sky, the trees, the birds.
It grounds the abstract idea of peace or relaxation in really tangible, immediate experiences.
It makes it feel warm, real, attainable, not vague.
Exactly. It's effectively modeling mindfulness without even necessarily using the word, guiding attention to simple, present stuff.
Yeah.
And that slow, deliberate way each activity is described in the source, that definitely adds to the beginner-friendly feel. The pacing gives you time to really absorb it, not just the words, but the feeling behind them.
It's not just teaching English vocabulary.
No, it's modeling a peaceful mindset. And, thinking more broadly, psychologically, culturally, these simple acts, focusing on breath, noticing nature, quiet activities, they connect to universal ideas of well-being. Stress reduction, you see it everywhere.
Like meditation or...
Yeah, or Japanese forest bathing, Shinrin-yoku, or just the simple tradition of afternoon tea in some cultures. Contemplative practices, finding quiet moments, engaging senses. It's a deep human need, really. And this podcast, through its simplicity, it taps right into that universal desire for calm and all the chaos. Shows that profound self-care doesn't need complicated rituals.
It's powerful because it gives you agency.
Right.
It says you can create these moments. You don't need a retreat or some special place.
Yeah.
Your home, your neighborhood, even just your own head.
Yeah.
That can be your sanctuary.
Exactly.
And the variety means there's probably something for everyone. Internal stuff like writing, external like walking, whatever fits your mood or environment.
And crucially, they're all low pressure, low stakes. Makes it easy to just dip a toe in. No big commitment needed.
And that incremental approach, that's often way more successful for building habits than demanding huge changes overnight.
Oh, absolutely. That just a few pages or 10 minutes advice, that shows a real understanding of real world barriers, both practical and psychological. It bypasses that feeling of, oh, I need to find a whole hour, which stops so many people from even starting. It's a little masterclass in building small, sustainable habits that can grow.
Okay, so we've really unpacked what this beneficial solitude means, separating it from loneliness. And we've seen the practical toolkit the source offers. Simple, accessible stuff. But the big question remains, why? Why is it so good for us?
Right. What are the actual benefits?
Let's dive into that next. What the source says about the profound impact of embracing this alone time.
The profound benefits of embracing alone time.
Okay, so moving on to the why. This Fluent Flow podcast script really shines here, I think. It clearly lays out the compelling reasons why we should make space for alone time.
Beyond just the what and how, yeah.
Exactly. It highlights several key benefits, starting with maybe the most fundamental one, especially now. Time alone helps me rest. It helps my mind feel calm.
Mental calm. In this era of constant pings and demands, that alone is a huge selling point. And what's fascinating here is the focus on internal states, self-discovery, how these emerge directly from solitude. The source links it straight to core mental well-being stuff, calm, better focus. And crucially, it says explicitly, when I am alone, I do not need to talk. I can just be. No noise, no pressure, just peace.
Just be. Powerful phrase.
It is. And it prompts a big question for us. How does deliberately removing those external demands, the pressure to talk, perform, react, just engage constantly, how does that create the psychological space needed for these deeper internal benefits to actually surface?
Right. What does that removal do?
Well, connecting it to the bigger picture, it really highlights how vital some kind of mental hygiene practice is, in this incredibly noisy, demanding world.
Mental hygiene, like brushing your teeth, but for your brain?
Kind of. Just like physical hygiene keeps us physically healthy, mental hygiene means taking proactive steps to keep our minds clear, calm, resilient, regularly decluttering the mental attic, processing stuff, recharging, creating that inner sanctuary, a buffer against the constant bombardment from outside.
That idea of just be, it feels almost radical today, doesn't it? Our busy, always on culture.
It really does.
It's like permission to just exist. No performance needed, no interaction, no external expectations. Just stop. And for you listening, maybe grappling with learning something new, or just information overload generally, that insight is huge. It's a strategy, really. A way to manage the mental clutter and find some stillness.
Yeah.
And that freedom from demands, it lets that deeper process happen, which leads to the ultimate benefit the source mentions. Self-understanding.
Knowing yourself.
Exactly. It says solitude helps me understand myself, what I like, what I don't like, and what makes me happy. That's not trivial, is it? That's fundamental to personal growth, to building a life that actually fits you.
Absolutely. Knowing your preferences, your boundaries, what genuinely brings you joy, that's essential for making conscious choices. And the source frames solitude as a direct path to getting that clarity.
Clear, accessible path.
Indeed. And these benefits, they go way beyond just feeling relaxed for a bit. They touch the core of, identity, purpose, psychological strength.
How so?
Well, think about long-term emotional resilience. If you regularly spend time checking in with your internal landscape, you get to know your triggers better, your coping mechanisms, your values.
Self-awareness.
Right. And that makes you much better equipped to handle external stress, setbacks, more stable, less reactive.
Okay, that makes sense.
And maybe creativity too, problem solving. Without the constant external noise, the mind can wander, make unexpected connections, engage in that kind of divergent thinking.
Incubate ideas.
Exactly. Cognitive psychology talks about incubation periods for breakthroughs. Solitude is the perfect incubator. Plus, think about burnout and demanding jobs, demanding lives. Dedicated alone time could be a vital preventative thing, a way to genuinely recharge before you hit empty.
Right. Proactive recharging.
So the source, by highlighting these benefits, it's effectively saying solitude isn't a luxury. It's not an indulgence. It's fundamental for sustainable well-being, even for just thinking clearly.
It really is about self-preservation then. In a world that just constantly wants a piece of you, your attention, your energy. When you allow yourself no noise, no pressure, just peace, you're investing in your mental capital, like hitting reset.
Yeah, giving the brain space to process, consolidate, rejuvenate.
And the improved focus makes total sense then. It's a natural result of decluttering. Trying to learn something complex when your mind's buzzing. Impossible.
Right. Solitude provides that quiet stage needed for deep learning, critical thinking, real reflection.
And that self-understanding piece, knowing what I like, what I don't like, what makes me happy, that's the foundation for making choices that are actually yours, not just reacting to pressure or what everyone else is doing.
Feels authenticity.
Yeah.
Inner strength. It radiates outwards, that kind of self-knowledge, a quiet journey of discovery.
Okay, so the benefits are clear. Compelling even. So, with all that laid out, what practical, actionable advice does the source give its listener and us to actually start? How do we begin this journey?
Actionable advice and encouragement for the listener.
All right, so building on those really compelling benefits, the Fluent Flow podcast script shifts gears beautifully into direct, actionable advice. It makes taking that first step feel, well, incredibly easy.
From the why to the how to start.
Yeah, exactly. And it begins by challenging this pervasive modern idea that keeps us glued to others or to our schedules. You don't need to be with people all the time. You don't need to be busy all the time.
That right there feels like a quiet rebellion, doesn't it? Against the cult of busyness.
Totally. It's like a permission slip just to slow down.
Absolutely. A direct counter to that societal pressure where your worth feels tied to how busy or connected you are. And what's really insightful is the advice that follows immediately. So simple, so direct.
The 10 minutes thing.
Yeah, try this. Spend 10 minutes alone today. Sit in silence, breathe, think. It just creates this incredibly low barrier to entry, makes it feasible for literally anyone, even the busiest person or someone totally new to this idea. No overwhelm, no inadequacy.
Right.
And that prompts the question, doesn't it? How crucial is starting that small? Just 10 minutes. How much does that increase the odds of actually forming a habit, sticking with it, instead of it becoming another thing you meant to do but didn't?
Yeah. Good intentions paved with overwhelm.
Exactly. And connecting that to behavioral science, it's just a masterclass in promoting positive change. Shows that huge shifts can start with tiny, achievable steps. It bypasses that psychological resistance to big, scary commitments.
That low-stakes invitation is so powerful for habit formation, you can't really overstate it. And then the script cleverly expands on it, offering flexibility, which is also smart.
Different activities.
Right. Or do something you love.
Yeah.
It can be drawing, listening to music, reading, or just relaxing. This range, it makes it broadly applicable. Lets you, the listener, choose what feels right, what feels good for you.
Personal resonance.
It's fundamentally about personal ownership. The script even says, this is your time for you. It frames it not as a chore, not another should on your list.
But a gift.
Yes, a gift you give yourself, a deliberate act of self-care, self-prioritization.
And then comes the encouragement part, which is just as vital, I think, as the practical steps.
A reassurance.
Yeah, the reassurance and the empowerment, it pivots beautifully. Being alone is not sad. Being alone can be powerful. It is good for your mind. It's good for your heart. Those aren't just words. They feel like deliberate affirmations, directly tackling any lingering negative feelings or doubts someone might have about solitude.
Right, countering the stigma.
Exactly. Firmly positioning solitude as beneficial, empowering, healthy, and that kind of positive reinforcement. Crucial for changing behavior. It links the new habit to good feelings.
It feels incredibly validating to hear that. And the final practical steps reinforce that gentle approach. Take a little time today. Turn off your phone, make a cup of tea, and enjoy the moment.
Concrete, immediate actions, universally accessible. Anyone can do those almost instantly. Reinforces the low barrier.
But the part that really hit home for me, and I imagine for you listening too, are those direct affirmations right at the end.
Ah, the ones for the learner specifically?
Yes. The source says, You are learning English. You are doing something great, and I am proud of you.
Wow. Those lines are just so potent. They don't just boost confidence in the language learning itself. They brilliantly connect the act of embracing solitude, this self-care, this personal development piece, to the listener's wider growth goals.
Yeah, it's holistic.
It's a message of self-improvement and self-acceptance, all woven together seamlessly within a language lesson. Just incredible.
That direct personal encouragement really transforms it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
From instruction to genuine support, a feeling of being appreciated.
Totally. When you as a learner feel seen, feel valued, feel affirmed, you're just much more likely to stick with things, to persist. It's pedagogy as much as life advice, reinforcing that small, consistent efforts lead to big results, whether it's language or self-care.
And the turn off your phone line, especially powerful now. Such a deliberate act.
Almost radical, disconnecting from the external to reconnect with the internal, a tangible boundary against the very distractions that make solitude hard to find.
Exactly. Setting boundaries for your own well-being.
Yeah.
Not just doing something new, but giving yourself permission to stop doing what drains you, even for a bit. The whole tone in this section is just so empathetic. It feels like advice from a supportive friend, not a drill sergeant. Gently easing you into something new with warmth, understanding, affirmation.
Creates that sense of safety, encouragement, makes you feel capable, supported in exploring this for yourself.
Okay, so we have this wonderfully presented content, this deeply considered advice on solitude.
Yeah.
Let's take that step back now. Let's analyze the source itself. This Fluent Flow podcast script as a learning tool. How well does it actually achieve its own mission?
Analyzing the Fluent Flow podcast's approach as a learning tool.
So looking beyond the actual content about solitude, this Fluent Flow podcast script itself is, well, it's kind of a masterclass in educational design, isn't it?
It really is. Very intentional.
The metadata spells it out clearly. 20-minute audio script. Slow, clear, and beginner-friendly. And the opening, it delivers on that promise immediately. Sets the whole tone.
Hello, my friend.
Exactly. Hello, my friend. Welcome to Fluent Flow Podcast. My name is Jenny. Thank you for listening today. This is your space to relax, learn English, and feel good. And then today's episode is about something simple, but very powerful. It's not just an intro. It's crafting an experience right from the start.
And what's truly fascinating there is how intentional it all is. How Jenny, the host, immediately creates this specific learning bubble. It labels itself slow, clear, and beginner-friendly. It's a huge commitment to the audience. Sets expectations perfectly. Pace, complexity.
Right.
Which raises a really key question for us. How does tailoring everything, the delivery speed, the vocabulary, the sentence structure, so precisely for English learners, how does that maximize their comprehension, their retention? How does it turn a simple chat about solitude into a seriously effective language lesson?
Yeah.
Connecting it to, say, educational psychology or instructional design, it's just a really thoughtful pedagogical approach. The content becomes this beautifully integrated vehicle for actually learning the skill.
The medium, the message, the method, all perfectly aligned.
Exactly, symbiotic learning.
Those opening lines, hello, my friend, your space to relax, learn English, and feel good. They create such a warm, welcoming vibe, totally non-intimidating, which is exactly what you'd imagine the target learner persona wants, right? A pace that respects them, doesn't overload them. Feeling comfortable, supported, not lectured.
Definitely. Low anxiety is key for learning.
And the topic choice itself, solitude, something inherently calming, reflective, orky. It perfectly matches that stated calm, slow delivery. It makes the whole experience feel cohesive, comforting, low stress.
It's not just the words, it's the feeling they evoke, the cognitive state, and how that feeling actually helps the learning process stick.
And the repetition of key phrases, the direct address throughout. Like at the end, you're not alone, we are learning together.
Reinforces connection, community, encourages you to keep going.
Fosters engagement.
And that consistency, tone, purpose, execution, it's remarkable. The gentle rhythm, the simplified vocabulary, the clear, often repeated sentence structures, those aren't just style choices.
They're deliberate teaching decisions.
Deeply deliberate. Every element seems designed to minimize cognitive load.
Cognitive load, explain that a bit.
It's basically the mental effort your brain needs to handle new information, like juggling. If this podcast threw complex grammar, new words, and abstract ideas all at once.
Brain freeze, overload.
Exactly. Nothing sticks. By simplifying the language, slowing the pace, it strategically reduces that mental burden. It frees up the listener's brain power to focus on the main task, acquiring the language.
Okay. Optimizing for clarity, reducing extra noise.
Precisely. It's foundational in educational psychology. It facilitates real, deep learning. And that supportive, low-pressure vibe is so important for language, specifically. Anxiety can be a massive barrier, makes the brain less receptive.
And Jenny's voice, the host persona, calm, reassuring, encouraging that, just solidifies the ideal learning space.
And the closing phrases do, too, reinforcing that supportive community idea.
Right. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please listen again or share it with a friend. And remember, you are not alone. We are learning together. See you next time. Bye-bye.
It's not just goodbye. It's an invitation to continue the journey. Together, even though you're learning individually, fosters that sense of belonging. Huge for motivation.
Yeah. So thinking bigger picture, could other educational podcasts or learning materials generally learn from this?
Oh, absolutely. Across any subject. Imagine a history podcast for kids using similar, calm pacing, simple language for complex events. Or a science show grounding abstract ideas in relatable, low-barrier examples, like the solitude activities here.
Yeah.
The long-term benefits of learning anything in that kind of supportive, low-pressure space, they're huge. It doesn't just transfer knowledge, it builds confidence, reduces that fear of making mistakes, fosters a genuine love for learning itself.
Sustainable learning, real mastery, not just cramming.
Exactly.
It's just a brilliant example of really knowing your audience so deeply that you can craft something both informative and profoundly comforting. Makes learning actually feel good.
Which is often overlooked, isn't it?
Totally.
Right? Here it's this positive feedback loop.
Yeah.
Learning becomes intrinsically rewarding, which makes you want to keep doing it, leads to deeper understanding.
Outro. So where does this leave us? What does this all mean for you listening?
Our deep dive into this Fluent Flow podcast script, why I enjoy spending time alone, well, it's done two things, I think.
It's highlighted the incredible, maybe underestimated benefits of carving out those quiet, intentional moments for yourself, especially in today's world.
Definitely.
But it's also showed us the thoughtful craft, the design that goes into creating really effective learning content, even from something that seems as simple as a podcast script.
And this exploration, it raises a final important question for you, the listener. As you navigate your own learning journeys, whatever they may be, whether it's a new skill, a complex subject, just staying informed, how might consciously building in moments of solitude, just like the source described and encouraged, how might that actually enhance your ability to absorb information, to reflect on it, to ultimately deepen your understanding in any field, not just language?
It's a powerful thought. Solitude, not just for peace, but for processing. For learning power.
Exactly. Cognitive and emotional processing power.
Well, we really hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights to mull over, and maybe, just maybe, inspired you to find your own moments of peace, reflection, and quiet growth in the beautiful chaos of life. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and perhaps, take a meaningful moment of quiet for yourself today.